What's going on, good people? This is Jarvis Davis of ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. It's ATL Day Ones, your team every day. And people, you know, the Atlanta Falcons have selected three guys. So I want to start off because there have been a lot of conversations about Bijan Robinson and where he stands with you all and where he is and who he is as a player. And I think that let me start off by saying this. Bijan Robinson is an excellent player. He's an excellent player. I got a chance to check him out and watch some film on him. And like you understand why teams will fall in love with the guy. And not only fall in love with the player, but they also fell in love with the person as well. And I think that, we know the Falcons are really big on guys who are in a space where they can, you don't have to worry about them off the field. And of course, that was one of the reasons why I knew for a fact that the Falcons weren't going to draft Jalen Carter. But I think that when you look at what Bijan Robinson is doing from a production standpoint in college, you totally understand it. But my whole thing is when it comes to Bijan Robinson is like just looking back at the season last year, and you look at some of those losses that the Falcons had where the defense actually did hold it down and held their opponent up under 20 points. And you think that, adding a guy like Bijan will, hopefully be able to be varied enough on offense to be able to put up more points. But so from my expectations are now going forward is the Falcons have to score 25 to 30 points a game, if you make this type of pick, because you look at the last 3 years, they selected pass catchers. I know that Bijan Robinson is a running back, but don't be surprised if a guy like Bijan lines up in the slot because, Kyle Pitts, the highest drafted tight end. And then Drake London, he was the first wide receiver taken off the board. Then you got an exceptional talent in Bijan Robinson being taken 8th overall. That's the first time that a running back has been taken in the top 10 since 2018. That's Saquon Barkley. And when you think about that, just that aspect right there, that's the thing that kind of where I point to when it comes to drafting running backs in the top 10 or drafting running backs that high at all, is the fact that you can have these guys who are an exceptional talent. And I'll put Saquon Barkley's college career up against anybody. Bijan, whoever, Ezekiel Elliott, anybody. The dude was out there returning kicks at that size and was just making everybody look like they were slow. So when you think about that aspect of it, Saquon Barkley is a guy that the Giants, they don't know if they necessarily want to pay him. They had to franchise tag him. Obviously, it was a situation with Daniel Jones. Obviously, quarterback's going to take precedent in those particular situations. They want to get that contract taken care of first. But it's always funny to me where you're talking about these game-changer guys at that position. It's always funny money time when it comes to get paid. And that's what happened with Saquon Barkley. And I just don't see a situation where Bijan Robinson is going to be any different from that. So I think that, and there's a reason why a running back hasn't been taken in the top 10 since 2018. So let's just keep it funky here. Like, I know the Falcons talked about Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith. They were talking about how, they're not necessarily a regime that is into the whole groupthink situation, meaning like if everybody's saying that, hey, we're not going to draft running backs in the top part of the first round, or we're not going to value those guys that high or put high grades on those guys in to be drafted in the first round, they're not going to kind of go along with that. But in actuality, when you think about it, you just kind of fell into that groupthink last year because you drafted Tyler Algier, 5th round draft pick. You got rushed for over 1,000 yards, broke the rookie rushing record for the Atlanta Falcons. William Andrews. Yeah, for those of you who are those new Falcons fans, yes, this happened back in 1979. So for Tyler Algier to come in and do what he did is not something that you just like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, anybody can rush for 1,000 yards, 17 games. The man wasn't even active in the first game, and he only started 7 games, and he still was able to rush for over 1,000 yards. And I think that when you find that type of value in those late rounds, and you then next year you come up and you draft a guy like Bijan Robinson, saying he's an exceptional talent and he's a generational talent, and he's a guy that you had to have, and you didn't quite know if somebody was going to draft him, if you would have moved back. I just start to question it. So for me, if you're going to draft a guy like that, because he's not going anywhere, me not necessarily liking the pick and where he was drafted, and the position that he plays, and the longevity of that position in the league, and the history behind that, he's going to be here. But I'm very interested to see how it plays out, how his career plays out as an Atlanta Falcon. So for me, like I totally get it. Nobody has to explain to me why Bijan Robinson was drafted to this team. And to be honest with you, he's in the right hands. He's in the right scheme. He's in the right situation, because when you think about Arthur Smith as a play caller, like, and talking to guys like Chris Lindstrom and Desmond Ridder, they know and they understand that Arthur Smith is going to put his players in the best position to succeed. So when you have a guy like Bijan Robinson, one of those guys that I remember when I used to joke with my offensive coordinator in college, and he'll be working on plays and we'll be going through install and everything, and I'm on the defensive side of the ball, and I'm sitting up here like, wait a minute, dude. What kind of play was that? Were you sitting on the toilet when you came up with that? He's like, yeah, Jarvis, that's how I get down. I sit on the toilet and I'm up here drawing up plays trying to beat y'all, because, we were pretty good as a defense. So, he's always trying to figure out how to beat us. So I think Arthur Smith is like that too. And when you think about having a guy like Kyle Pitts, who you can line up on the outside, and you got a guy like Drake London, who's a basketball player as well, who you can line up in the slot. And now you have a guy like Bijan Robinson, who you can line up in the slot as well. So when you're talking about different formations and having both he and Tyler Algier in the game, yeah, that is super exciting. But for me, those are going to raise my expectations. Those are going to say, hey, I need 25 to 30 points a game, because you bought some guys in. You bought some bodies in. You got a 37-year-old guy, a defensive end, and Calais Campbell, who's going to be 38 once the season starts. And then you have another 30-year-old, and Bud Dupree, who's a guy who's been around on a couple teams, never really lived up to the expectation or the draft expectations or the salary that he got in Tennessee when he went down there and came from Pittsburgh. Now you got David Onyemata, who's not a sack guy. And I think that he's going to be a guy that, I really am expecting to be one of those run stuffers and be able to push the pocket a little bit more. So all those guys are over the age of 30. You don't have any young guys with, any type of promise. Now, don't get me wrong. Taquan Graham, I like what I saw before he got injured last year, but he's coming off an injury. So what are your real expectations for a guy like that? So I think that there's no guarantees when it comes to defense. That's what I'm saying. So I think that for them to bring in a guy like a Bijan Robinson and given what Arthur Smith can do, like there's going to be no kind of like, oh yeah, they got to take some time to grow, and now Desmond Ridder got to do this and do that. Nah, When you go 3 years in a row, offensive players, best player available, at some point you got to cash in those checks, baby. Because 3 years in a row, drafting the highest drafted tight end in Kyle Pitts, Drake London, the first wide receiver to be taken off the board. People didn't necessarily have him in that spot. You say you don't have the group think. Like you kind of walk to your own beat of your drum. I get it. Now, Bijan Robinson, running back, top 10 running back, hasn't been taken since 2018. Saquon Barkley. Those are some of the things that matter. So you have to cash in those checks this year. I need at least 25 to 30 points. Those are my expectations, being that you took a running back with the 8th overall pick. Now, on to the second round. When you think about the second round, Matthew Bergeron. Tanisha and I talked about on the show. We named a couple guys that we really like. I know I was really into John Michael Schmitz. I like Osiris Torrance out of Florida. And those are really guys that I really like and got a chance to get my eyes on. Matthew Bergeron, not so much. But let me tell you something. I got a little something for y'all. I got a little secret for you. So guess what? You know me. I'm the type of guy where I'm not necessarily going to speak on somebody that I haven't watched with my own eyes. So here's what I did before I came on, just for you. By the way, if you haven't liked or subscribed to our YouTube channel, go ahead and do it. Like, you're on here right now, you're watching, so go ahead and do it right now. Oh yeah, and if you check us out every day, go ahead and drop every day in the comment box. I see the comments. I'm gonna get to the comments in just a second. I appreciate you guys, hopping on with me tonight. But Matthew Bergeron, I got a chance to watch his film, and guess what film I came across? Syracuse versus Notre Dame. Why is that significant, Jarvis? It's significant because Isaiah Foskey, that name rings a bell. You know who he's going to be playing for as a rookie and who was taken in the second round tonight? The New Orleans Saints. Let me tell you, Matthew Bergeron was giving him that work. So you should be very excited. Matthew Bergeron, he was offensive tackle. Obviously, I feel like the Falcons are going to move him down to the guard spot, which would be really, really good. And the dude, Matthew Bergeron, is solid. I'm talking about going through the entire game. I maybe saw him lose his balance maybe once or twice. And then given how many snaps they played, because they were they were in a comeback situation against Notre Dame, and they were throwing the ball a lot, I really feel like those are some very good signs as to the Falcons may have gotten them a pretty solid tackle. And then even though the Falcons are pretty tapped in as far as what's going to go down or who may fall where, and they knew that they had to trade up to 38 to go get him, and they traded their 44th overall pick. They swapped that pick, and they gave up their first fourth round pick. So now all they have left now are 2 seventh round picks and a fourth round pick as well. So we'll definitely see what those guys are. But yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Matthew Bergeron. And for those who just jumping in, Matthew Bergeron gave Isaiah Foskey that work for Notre Dame, who will be playing for the Saints this upcoming season as a rookie. So I like what I've seen so far from Matthew Bergeron. Now, 75th overall pick. And we know with Ryan Nielsen, defensive coordinator for the Falcons, they haven't committed to saying they're going to run the 4-3, but I know they're going to run the 4-3. And I think they're going to mix it in, and it's going to be a slow transition into that 4-3 spot. But, at the end of the day, given how much teams are in nickel, how much teams are in those 3 wide receiver sets in the NFL today, it really doesn't matter, but it does make sense given where they're coming from, where Nielsen is coming from, and to draft a guy like Zach Harrison, because he's a 6'6", 272-pound defensive end, a true defensive end, like a real true defensive end. So he's not necessarily a sack guy, where he had like 11 sacks in his entire career at Ohio State, but I feel like he's a guy they're gonna have to work with. And Ryan Nielsen is a guy who loves himself some defensive ends, and because he's a defensive lineman, position coach at heart. So I really appreciate guys like that. You guys know I used to play defensive line in college, so I'm so biased. And I really feel like, be honest with you, can I be honest with y'all? I really feel like that's why I don't really care for the actual pick of Bijan Robinson, because I want some defense, man. But this class though, this edge class, it wasn't all that great. Not in the top end. I feel like there's value throughout the draft. Like Zach Harrison, we'll see how he works out. There's some guys that, I like Keon White. He ended up getting picked up by the New England Patriots. So I really feel like, there was some value throughout this draft. But that's why I really wanted to be aggressive and go and get Will Anderson. But, the Houston Texans, they were out here wheeling and dealing. They were literally pulling a draft day in real life. Those of you seen that movie, or those of you who watched my show, know that I really like that movie. I don't care how bad y'all think it is, whatever. But yeah, as far overall, though, this class at the top you didn't have too many high-end guys. I wasn't necessarily sold on Tyree Wilson. Like I said, I'm not fascinated by measurables. I've been 6'5", 330 all my life, so I'm more so like, okay, what's the skill set? What traits do you have? And if you have size, that's a plus. Obviously, going into the NFL, because there's a lot of big mofos in the league today. But at the end of the day, I really feel like, the Falcons were able to, shore up that that left guard spot with Matthew Bergeron. I like what I've seen so far. I'm definitely digging into him a little bit more. But so far, I really like what Bergeron brings to the table. And then from Zach Harrison, in the third round, 75th overall pick, those are some of the guys. And if you're drafting in the third round, you're expected to play. So, but I think they're going to be able to bring them on, pretty slowly, because they have a guy like Calais Campbell who's going to be playing. Going to have Bud Dupree coming off the edge as well. So, day two, I like it a little bit more so than I like from day one. But I understand. For those, let me recap. For those you just joining, I talked about this to start this thing. Bijan Robinson, like the player, excellent athlete. I don't necessarily like the pick, because here's the thing. I've been watching this defense for a very long time. From a fan standpoint, all the way back to the mid-'90s of the Falcons to now, and then when I started transitioning into covering and doing shows and talking about them on a daily basis, then I kind of had to change my eyeballs a little bit. And what I've seen that hasn't changed is the defense. The defense, you just haven't had really good top 10 defenses, like guys who you didn't have dudes that can rush the passer. Because going back to that 98 squad with my guy Chuck Smith and guys like Patrick Kearney and Lester Archambault, all of those guys, man, they were just absolute dudes up front, and they used to be able to get after it. But now, and then John Abraham, like, that's the last time we had a guy who can rush the passer like that. So that's where my concern comes from when I start to speak about Bijan Robinson. But like I said earlier, my expectations have changed. They are raised. You've gone 3 consecutive years, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Bijan Robinson. It's time for the offense to produce. Now, what does that mean for Desmond Ridder? He's going to have to be able to make the right throws. But I am confident that Arthur Smith will put him in a good situation. So what I want you to do before I get out of here, I really appreciate you guys coming in and rocking with me like this. But I want to make sure that you guys go ahead and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. And all for all the people who've been rocking with us throughout since we got started. Really appreciate you guys. And I'm going to take a couple questions here before I get out of here. Let me go to Mr. Matt Anderson. Thank you for the comment, my brother. What is going on with Ringo? Oh, yes, this is my favorite. All right, let me tell y'all something, man. Keely Ringo, how can I put this in a nice way? He's a fine player. The measurables, like I said, I will say this, I keep saying it till I leave this earth. I'm not fascinated by measurables. What can you do on the field? I've been 6'5", 330 all my life. Well, probably sometimes gotten up to close to 400 or maybe even over, but that's a whole nother conversation. But the guy on the field, the measurables, the speed, all that stuff doesn't necessarily add up, or you don't see it on a consistent basis on the field. He gets lost in coverage sometimes. Like it's hard for him to find a ball. He's a little grabby when in coverage as well. And some people try to pass it off as him being aggressive. I look at it as like, you got to reach your grabbies. Like, remember Robert Alford? Y'all remember him? How he used to always get flagged down. That was the reason why. He was like that when he was coming out of college. He was just super fast, and he had some decent size. So teams are kind of scared of that, especially given how teams are slinging the ball all around the yard. So that's why Keely Ringo is dropping. That's the Jarvis 101 right there. So appreciate the question from Matt there. Let me take a couple more questions here. See, Matt, yeah, man, you understand, right? Boo offered. Yeah, he was fine from time to time, but man, let's put it all, line it up all on the chart. Let's use Keely Ringo as an example. Take away that pick six in the national championship. What you got? I'll let you go figure that one out. Let me get one more before we get up out of here. Wait a minute, hold on. Mr. Hucklebuck. The problem that I have is that Arthur Smith has not shown me that he can be creative on offense. Very vanilla at best. What? What games have you been watching, sir? Are you for real? Let me tell you something, man. Look at the talent. Look at the. All right, so let me go with Matt Ryan's last year here. Do you understand that they could not run the football at all? At all. And you know why they couldn't run the football at all? It wasn't because they didn't have maybe that talent in the backfield, but they could not block a soul up front. So what they had to do was they had to depend on Matt to sling the ball 30, 40 times a game. And at the age of Matt and the deterioration of his, I messed up that word. It's okay. Y'all, it's late, man. That's how I get down. Of his skill set was probably at his lowest. Well, it was at his lowest in Indianapolis. I ain't gonna do that. It was maybe a step above his lowest his last year with Atlanta. And trying to come up with a game plan that Arthur Smith did, and for him to win 7 games with that roster, yeah, man, he had to get really creative. So fall back on the whole not being creative. Remember I said Arthur Smith is one of those guys who probably sits on the toilet and comes up with some draws up plays. So a small part of me deep down really excited about what he's going to be able to do with these treetops that he has and that dude and those 2 dudes that he has in the backfield. So I definitely, but appreciate the comment though, Hucklebuck. Let me see right here. Oh, why have they not been able to get the ball to Pitts? All right, which be specific. In the red zone or just in the field, period? Because I can ask, the last year is real easy. It's because he had Marcus Mariota throwing the football. That's it. No explanation needed. And if you defend Marcus Mariota as a passer at this stage in his career, we can't have no conversation about that. All right? Thank you, Hucklebuck. Really appreciate you. L picks isn't bad. L picks Harrison isn't bad, but we should have gone and got JC and Keon White, then Cedric Tillman. Yeah, I like Keon White. I really do. I got a chance to talk to him while I was down there. Senior Bowl. So yeah, that is my dude. I like Keon White, man. And he didn't look excited at all. Did y'all see? Did y'all get a chance to see him when the camera came to the shot when he was here? He was here in Atlanta. And did y'all see the look on his face? I'm sitting up here like, all right, man, did they not call you yet and say that you're being drafted into the NFL? Ooh, boy. Bill Belichick got some selling to do. I can tell you that much. He probably bad because the Falcons said they probably going to take him. He didn't draft him, man. But, yeah, really like Keon White. I think he's going to be a solid pro scout. Not scout. Sorry. Excuse me. My bad. But, yeah, a solid pro. He's late, man. Y'all forgive me. All right, I want to have some fun here, guys. We got all the football stuff out of the way. How about this? Ask me anything. Jarvis Davis edition. For the next 2 minutes, I'll answer any question that you ask. I probably shouldn't be doing this, but whatever. It's 10:30 at night. It's Friday. I ain't got nothing else to do. My wife done gave me a pass, said I could do my work, do my job, but we're going to have a little fun before I get out of here. So, all right, for the next 2.5 minutes, I need y'all to go ahead and send those questions in. If y'all ain't got no questions within the next minute, I'm out of here. Don't never say I ain't do nothing for you. But, what's going on with my guy, Trey? Appreciate you, man, for rocking with you. I appreciate you, Trey Stokes. My dude, I hope you don't get upset that I said your last name as well. But, yeah, Trey, a good guy. All right. So I feel like this question's gonna come, so I'm gonna go ahead and address it right now. Nick, what's up, man? Appreciate the question. What's good with your co-host? She is so sexy. Why y'all asking me that? What in the world? Why would you ask me that? Don't ask me that. Goodness, great. All right, man. Y'all getting ridiculous. Milan, is she dating? Yes, she's open to dating. But guess what? You ain't gonna get a date through me asking me that question. You need to ask her. Shoot. Y'all come check us out each and every day, Monday through Friday. You know. Yeah. Okay, Nick. Yeah, man. Yeah, I got you. I answered your question, right? You know, I gotta talk junk. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I get down. That's how I'm built, man. This is from Preston. Why do you think so many UGA players are dropping? Oh, so I'm assuming that you're talking about Nolan Smith. Let me tell you something about Nolan Smith, y'all. And I don't want to sound like no UGA hater, but Nolan Smith was one of the most highly recruited dudes coming out of high school. And from time to time, you saw why. But just from a production standpoint, he just didn't do it consistently. And when you look in the NFL, guys are not going to invest that type of money, especially when you're talking about going top 15, top 10. You know what type of guaranteed money is up there? So that's why he fell to 30. I get it. That's a good spot for him. I think Philadelphia is probably the best spot he can go to because the expectations aren't going to be as high. Now, he is a first-round draft pick, and it is what it is when it comes to that. But when you're talking about a production standpoint and consistency and you putting not only being fast and being able to jump really high and from a measurable standpoint, but that stuff has to transfer, y'all. It just can't be a number on a sheet of paper. It gotta transfer onto tape. Like it gotta go to the tape too. That's why I say I don't get too fascinated with the combine. I like watching, don't get me wrong, and keeping up with it. I love to hear how fast the guys are running. I get it. I understand that. But that stuff has to transfer to the tape. Like, that's why a lot of times when people go to combines and guys have these big doggone numbers and these great eye-popping numbers, they go back to the film and see, did it transfer? Or did I miss something? Or is there a tape out there where he showed this consistently throughout 4 quarters of a game? And the answer was no when it came to Nolan Smith. That's just what it is. I'm sorry. I love Nolan Smith. He is an excellent guy. Like, if you were saying that if I had to pick a guy off that UGA team to date one of my daughters, like, they are nowhere near old enough for that. I ain't that old. Don't look at me like that. Nolan Smith would probably be one of those guys. Or I'll let Nolan Smith babysit one of my daughters. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because he just seems like a really, really nice guy. So, yeah, I'm cool with that. Preston, I talked about Keely Ringo. Kind of like Nolan Smith. The measurables are there. The speed, the size, all that stuff. But it didn't show on tape. I watched a lot of UGA games, and Keely Ringo didn't show up like that. I've seen him get beat more than he made plays. So yeah, that's why he's dropping like that. This is from Hucklebuck. Do you think that UGA coaching undermined Carter's draft stock? That's an interesting topic because I think that when you look at how the power structure, right? Like when I heard about the article earlier today, so I went and read it on Pro Football Talk, and it was kind of vague to me because when you talk about character issues and coaches saying this, like I need, like, you don't have to quote who it came from, but if you're sourcing it, I need something more specific than difficult to deal with. Like, what does that mean? Like, that could mean anything. When you talk about grad assistants too, let me tell you something about grad assistants. The ball players, the starters, they don't give a damn about no doggone grad assistants. I mean, like, I didn't care about grad assistants, and I was a okay player. I was a starter. You know, I started 4 years in college. You know, I was all conference, you know what I'm saying? So I had a little ego. So yeah. Yeah, so there's a pecking order. Let me say this. There's a pecking order when it comes to coaches. Now, if you had a Kirby Smart, you know, not necessarily direct quoted saying that, okay, all right, I question that because you got to look at not only what, you know, the type of player Jalen Carter is, and the type of, you got to look at what type of coach that it's coming from too. Because I respect the hell out of Kirby Smart as a coach. I played against him in college. He was an assistant at Valdosta State when I was at Albany State, and he and Will Muschamp were there when I played against them. And those dudes were very well coached. You could always tell. So I was very well aware of what Kirby Smart can do as a coach. But when you're talking about players and respecting grad assistants, like, it takes a certain type of dude to respect all coaches. Because, sir, if a player feels like he can't learn anything from you, he ain't gonna respect you. Why would he? Because that's the relationship. That's it. That's why I'm here. I'm here to be coached, and you're here to coach. You're getting paid to coach me. And if I feel like I can't learn anything from you, or you're not teaching me anything, am I really gonna respect you? I mean, I know that might be a little harsh, but so yeah, I say all that to say is, like, I'm not too big on falling into that report about Jalen Carter. Like, that wouldn't cancel it out for me, because if I was a scout for the Atlanta Falcons, just say that, you know, that'd be really cool, by the way. I would have to have a conversation with him for myself. I feel like I'm a good people reader, and I would get a good gauge of how I feel about him by having a conversation with him, talking to some of his folks, talking to his family, and just really digging in that route. Because I don't really care what a grad assistant. I wouldn't care what a grad assistant would have to say about Jalen Carter. That's just my thing. So yeah, I appreciate that. Oh, since we seeming like a UGA conversation, here we go. This is from Hucklebuck. Appreciate the question. What do you think of Big Bear leaving UGA? I like Bear. Don't get me wrong. I really like Bear. Bear is a hell of a player. There's a reason why he went to USC. He had a lot of schools on his head. But I mean, UGA is loaded, man. Like, what are we really talking about here? If one of the guys that was competing for the starting quarterback spot left, I'd be a little concerned. You know what I mean? I would be concerned for sure. But I'm not too concerned about Big Bear leaving. But I'm sure he's going to do his thing out there at USC. This is from Nick. Thanks for the question. Where did you hang out in Albany? When were you there? I was in Albany from 2000 to 2000. When did I leave? Graduated 05. I left 06. So yeah, from 2000 to 2006, I used to hang out a lot of spots, man. The House of Jazz, Detour 21. I don't know if you know about that. Any Waffle House down there. Like, man, I love going to Waffle House in Albany. You never do what you go see. Oh yeah, the little spot right there off of what is that, Oglethorpe? Called the Trap. That little club there. I used to go there. I used to work there. You do security back in the day. That was in my previous life. Yeah. So yeah, man, good times down there in Albany. This is one from yeah, you from Albany, so you probably know all the spots I just named. So yeah, what's going on with you, Nick, man? Appreciate you joining me here. Got a couple more minutes, guys. So y'all make sure y'all get your questions in. I'm gonna try to get to all the ones that's popping up right now. Oh yeah, Jimmy Hot Dog. Yes, absolutely. Have the tissue ready though. This is from Electrical. I ain't gonna try to pronounce that first part. Do you think AK and D'Angelo Malone will have big years? Oh, that is a good question. Very good question. When it comes to on Abikati, I saw some things that I liked last year. I would have liked to see more. I would have liked to have seen him start more games so I can see more. But yeah, I think I saw some good things from him. I can't see I haven't seen enough to say that he's gonna have a big year this year. But yeah, I am excited about seeing some growth from Arnold Ebiketie and D'Angelo Malone. Same. Obviously, D'Angelo didn't play as much as AK did, but I like what I've seen for D'Angelo Malone. And here's the thing that you need to pay attention to when it comes to D'Angelo Malone. This is how you're gonna get an idea of how much change they're gonna have when it comes to what they run in that base defense. This may sound weird, but look at D'Angelo's, and this goes for Arnold Ebiketie too. Look at their body when they come back in the spring, and I'll report back to you guys. You know, I'll be out there seeing what's going on. I try to pay attention to stuff that other people don't talk about. Look at their bodies. If you start to see AK walking around a little thicker, 10 to 15 pounds heavier, or D'Angelo Malone trying to pack on a couple extra pounds and do his thing too, that will tell you all you need to know as far as what they're going to gravitate towards or use more when they run this quote unquote multiple defense. Because that's why I was a little excited about Bud Dupree signing, because he's one of those 6'3", 255, 260 type guys. So that doesn't mean that they're going to ask guys like D'Angelo Malone to stand up and be a stand-up linebacker. And I just don't see the value in that. I like him coming in as a rusher. So it's going to be some competition too. Be on the lookout for that this summer too, for the Atlanta Falcons. And there might be some guys that that get cut. Now mark that. I just said that. April 28th, 10:47 p.m. There's going to be some guys that you see that might just get cut, because now that they were able to go out and bring in some guys that that have some juice that can play, they might push some other guys out. So I'm looking forward to a competitive camp up at Flowery Branch this summer. Did I miss anything? I want to make sure I didn't miss any questions. I got the whole I love Tanisha stuff out the way. So, yeah, appreciate that. I will let her know how much you love her and how much you want to know if she's dating or not. Yeah. So, yeah. Man, I've been on here, 39 minutes talking with y'all? Whew, I did not plan on being on this long. So, I appreciate you guys participating and Ask Me Anything. Don't forget, guys, I am Jarvis Davis. I am part of ATL Day Ones. My co-host is Tanisha Batiste. If you are new to this thing, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And then if you in your car and you can't watch us, download the audio version as well. That's available to you. Like we trying to give it to you on both ends. We want to do well on both ends. So yeah, we try to be versatile, just like the Atlanta Falcons. So on Monday, we're going to be talking about recapping the entire draft. Oh yeah, I'll be back tomorrow too. I'll be back at some point tomorrow. Check out social, and I'll let you know when I'm gonna go live. And I'm gonna try to see if I can get John Chuckery to join me as well. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun, and we're gonna do an AMA with him as well. So yeah, make sure y'all come back for that. I'm out.